There we are. It is live. Good tarde, everyone. Welcome to the Gavin Seim Show. So you want to get arrested in Mexico? You want to know the secrets, the backroom deals? You want to know what you have to do to get arrested in Mexico? How long the stay is, what the accommodations are, and how soon you'll get out? Well, let's talk about getting arrested. Yeah. Cheers. I'm going to wait for you guys to pop in there and we're going to talk because I posted the video. If you've not seen the video on the channel, I'll show it to you today. In fact, I will play back the video here in just a moment. Just to kick off the video, I'll play the whole interaction. Not the whole video I uploaded with my comments. So you can watch that after this video. But I wanted to go live for you guys. I just got out of jail this time last week. And I got nabbed in San Juan del Rio. They nabbed me. So I was cruising along. I don't get nabbed often. I don't get harassed often. Because when I'm cruising, I'm very spatially aware. I almost never let a cop behind me. So if I see a cop round the corner behind me, I'm turning, I'm pulling into a gas station. And do I have something to hide? No, that's irrelevant. I don't want these criminal cockroaches riding my ass looking for me to be their next extortion victim. And I don't care if I'm in England, Canada, the United States, Mexico, or anywhere else in the world. Cops are cockroaches. They are the lowest bottom feeders. They don't protect you. They don't keep us safe. They don't keep our streets safe. They are the thugs for criminals and politicians, and they keep their job by robbing and stealing from the poor. That's what they do. That's what makes me the angriest. Not that I get screwed over now and then, but that they make their money by robbing and stealing. So I don't let these guys ride my ass. What happened, it was a moto cop, and he just popped out of nowhere, and he was right there. I didn't see him coming up. And so, yeah, couple of mistakes made. We'll talk about those. Let's watch the video real quick for those of you that haven't seen it. We got so many people all over in jail. We still got Jeff Winehouse in jail, Schaefer Cox, Jim Hamilton, Leonard Peltier, Eric Brandt. Name the names, guys. Fill that chat with the names of our prisoners, political or otherwise, that have been victimized by these injustice systems. Thank you for being in the chat. I'm watching your chats. I will take some specific questions on dealing with police in general and also with Mexico soon. But let's roll tape on the video that we showed the other day. This will be the version that has English subtitles, so I don't have to narrate for you. Welcome to the live stream. Let's do this. Make sure I got audio. Hang on. I'm getting the video. I'm gonna go back to the beginning. Switch it over here. Switch it over. Oh, this is perfect. I'm in the corner right here. Can I move myself? I can move myself around. Look at that. But I like myself. I feel good. I feel comfortable. I feel safe here in the left-hand corner. In the right-hand corner, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I get a little anxious when I look at myself and I'm in the right-hand corner, because I'm looking this way, so I feel like... Anyways, let's not get off topic. You know how this show can go. Let's watch the show. All right, let's watch. This video is not too long. There is a full video, but it dragged out just basically talking in circles for 30 minutes. So I cut it down to the pertinent points so you didn't have to drag out on that. Let's start.
¿Quieres extorsionarme?
Watch those subtitles.
Y tengo dinero para darte a ti. Aquí.
Ah, sí, pues dámelo. ¿Tú tienes identificación?
No, identificación no. Tuya.
No, you have to give identification for la 43 de México Federal. Tu identificación.
Ok. Pero el vehículo es tuyo.
Sí.
Ok, tus placas son falsas.
No.
Necesito saber por qué traes esas placas.
Esos.
Sí.
La gente se roban las placas. Tengo la original. Pero esos son de plástico.
No, pero ¿por qué haces eso?
Porque la gente se roban las placas. Sí. O la...
Traer la placa original.
No, porque se robó.
Es un delito.
No, eso no es delito.
Documentos falsos o
No.
Entonces, ¿por qué traes esas placas falsas?
No son falsas, son eso.
No, las que traes tú para circular.
Because the gente steal them.
¿Eh?
They steal them.
¿Es qué?
Todavía no me muestras identificación. ¿Cómo se llama tú?
Ulises García.
Tu identificación, porfa.
¿Para qué quieres mi identificación?
Porque es la ley.
¿Por qué?
Es delito.
¿Cuál es el delito?
Por tú.
No. Ya me estoy identificando contigo.
Ley
Ya
43.
te estoy haciendo saber el por
No.
qué.
Your identification real.
Necesito que...
Necesito tu identificación. Tu identificación, amigo.
necesito que te identifiques o alguna
Tu primera.
licencia o
Tu
algo.
primera es la ley.
No, yo soy la autoridad. Yo te estoy-
No, tú no eres autoridad. Tú
No,
eres...
estamos jugando, ¿no? O sea...
No, no es un juego. ¿Cómo se llama?
Tú
43.
escúchame.
43 de Ley Seguridad Nacional. You tienes que darme tu
Me estoy
identificación.
identificando contigo.
Tu tarjeta es en la ley. La ley no es una discusión. Tú no entiendes. La ley, la ley es muy clear. Sí, pero ¿qué quieres? Yo quiero tu identificación real por contabilidad, porque me estás molestando, me estás acosando.
Que sí es delito.
No, no es
Porque
delito.
Es como si trajera placas falsas.
No es en placas falsas. Si quieres, infraccionarme. Pero, ¿cómo necesitan 20? Hay tanta delincuencia en San Juan. ¿Y tienes cuánto? 20 policía. Hay asesinatos, hay, ¿cómo se llama? Ladrones. Toda la policía de San Juan está aquí. Él comete delito cuando no identifican oficialmente. Eso es delito federal.
Artículo 3, capítulo 3, artículo 234. Uso de documentación falsos o alterados. Al que haga uso de documentos falsos.
No es esta ley por placas.
Para obtener
No, eso no es.
beneficio o causa.
Este es un documento.
No, hay una otra ley sobre las placas. No es un delito. No, eso es mentiras. Eso es mentiras. Yo has visto la ley.
Eso es
No es esta ley por placas.
Para obtener
No.
3, artículo 234.
Going back a little. I switched it.
Uso de documentación falsos o alterados. Al que haga uso de documentos falsos.
No es esta ley por placas.
Para obtener
No, eso no
beneficio
es.
o causa.
Este es un documento.
No, hay una otra ley sobre las placas. No es un delito. No, eso es mentiras. Eso es mentiras. Yo has visto la ley.
Soy mentiroso entonces.
Sí,
Está
eres.
bien fácil, pues.
Intento de ser amable, pero me
Nosotros
estás.
también somos amables.
Y te
Te
muestra.
falta el respeto.
No,
Nadie te ha faltado.
mi falta de respeto porque
Sí,
es un
sí me
delito
falta.
que no se identifica. Entonces, él también comete un delito federal. Porque no identifica. Vamos a llevar él a la fiscalía porque yo quiero denunciar también. ¿Por qué quieres llevar él a la fiscalía? Yo a la fiscalía, pero él no, cuando él comete un delito federal. Espérame. Amigo,
Bájate.
Ya, amigo, ya te dimos mucho chance.
Oye.
Sí, la verdad, ya te dimos mucho
estamos
chance.
hablando.
No, ya es mucho chance, la verdad. Baja el vehículo. Baja el vehículo. Asegúrenlo. Vamos a ponerlo a disposición de la fiscalía. Ya estuvo. Es mucho chance lo que se le está dando. Es mucho hablar. Ya se lo explicó. Ya, de favor, señorita, descienda del vehículo también. De la misma manera se lo pido atentamente. Descienda del vehículo. Mija, van a revisar el vehículo, por favor, en presencia tuya, que todo está en orden.
Ya lo comenté, ya lo platiqué con el comandante.
Let's pause there just for a second. We can come back to this part. Okay? Now, sorry, I switched the camera there for a second. And by the way, this isn't the main video for what you just saw. The video I just posted a few days ago has all of this free and clear of any commentary or my mug getting in the way. Okay, I just wanted to show you this in the context of today's live stream. But if you come in late or something like that, you can go watch the full incident. All right, now, here's the deal. No matter where you are, you don't have to talk to police. Let's talk about our rights a little bit. You have the right to be left alone. And this is the problem. They were saying, oh, we're being nice, we're being friendly. Cops always do this too in the States. They say, I'm being polite to you. A lot of the activists are really aggressive and really rude to get a reaction for YouTube. That was never my style. It does show who they are. People get great videos doing this. I was just watching a video that some of the auditors and stuff were doing of this role reversal stuff. And I started doing role reversal stuff years ago when I started asking them for ID, but I always did it instead of just getting in their face, I always did it like, oh no, this is a law, this is why, this is the security reasons. So I did role reversal kind of in the way that they like to play it. each person can have their own style. I think it's great that people are resisting and that people are reversing the roles. People like Josh Martinez, James Freeman, and so many others. Now, when you're dealing with cops, and you have a lot more ability to resist in Mexico. It's actually very common for people to run from the cops here. But here's the problem here. I didn't expect this to escalate. I've never had a cop try and arrest me. I've had them getting a little threatening. But I wasn't committing any crime. I wasn't doing anything outside really the norm. And so I'm like, oh, this guy just wants a bribe. I can feel people, like I can sense really quickly. And I think I've really started to realize when I think about a lot of my activism, and I'm going through these videos, and I've seen for over years and years, right, how I respond. I'm gonna turn off audio on this part so that I can kind of play back some of these and still talk. So you don't just have to, because you'll see here, what he stopped me for, the mistake I made is I had laminated copies. What they do in Mexico, if they give you a parking ticket, they'll steal your license plate and hold it hostage at the county precinct. So to get it back, you have to come pay the parking ticket. I'm not okay with that. I paid to get those plates on the car and have that number. I don't give a rip if they say, oh no, the government's loaning. The government's not loaning me anything. I pay for the government. I pay for the police, and I'm sick and tired of this attitude like, oh, it's not really yours, it's a loan from the government. The car is mine, the registration is mine, the plates are mine, everything that's in it is mine, so screw you. I'm sick of this attitude that simps have as they lick the government's boots. Nothing about my car is theirs. It's not a privilege, it's my property. Okay? Now, this is what happened. I knew that was faded. I've been telling myself for a month, I need to switch that laminated plate because that back one is faded. And of course, that's what they see first, right? If they get behind you. And so if you take a copy of your driver's license, obviously you're not making a forgery of it. In fact, I don't carry my original driver's license. Now, whether you should have a driver's license, no, you probably shouldn't need to. But that's another thing, because a lot of times you need an ID for something. I don't carry my passport. I don't carry my green card. I don't carry a driver's license, my original. I carry copies. Because if I lose my wallet, if a cop steals from me, if somebody steals my wallet, it's too much bureaucracy and hassle to get the originals. So I have a laminated copy of my driver's license. It's not a forgery, it's a copy. It has all the exact same information. The same with license plates, okay? I keep the original license plates in the car, and that way they can't steal the plates. But there's no forgery involved. And here's the thing, these cops knew that. He was butthurt that he couldn't get a bribe from me, because that's what cops are after. Cops don't make $200,000 a year doing traffic stops down here, guys. Cops make probably $150 a week down here. The rest they get by extorting people. Appreciate it, defend your base. And by the way, I appreciate any from you guys today. If you want to help out on this, if you want to help me recoup and I've been talking, I talked to Ramon today. Ramon, my friend, is Mexicano, but he's also a U.S. citizen, but he was born here. He's in the States right now. He just got arrested. They just picked him up. So he's out. He's going to plan to sue them. He was talking to me because he knows more about how the Mexican administration works. So I'm going to go to the Comandancia first and get the names of all these guys that were involved in this. But yeah, I mean, it's cost me about $400 to get my car back and pay the fine and stuff like that, even though I wasn't actually charged with anything. But if you guys want to super chat, or if you want to PayPal me, paypal.me/Seim, I'll put that in the chat and in the description. If you want to donate a little to pitch in, because if I get a little bit extra resources, I might actually hire a lawyer down here. They're a lot cheaper down here as well. They're a lot more accessible. I actually do have a lawyer that I work with on some other things. And I'm considering, like, hey, what if I just put him to work on this? Because I want to make an example of these guys, not for me, but because I'm sick and tired of them robbing the poor and extorting people. And so what you're actually seeing here is me going around with these guys, but they brought all these cops, right? They brought like 20 cops, and I'm lecturing them because there's a lot of crime in San Juan del Rio right now. Everybody knows it's corrupt. People can't stand the cops. The people, other than a few simps on Facebook, in general, people really don't like the cops here. So it's very normal to talk bad about the cops. People are always talking about how the cops are just criminal rats, criminal thieves. And if you go to the Facebook pages for this town, you'll see this all the time. Just this past week, I've seen numerous videos of San Juan police and people talking about how they're just criminals. This guy right here, this is good cop, okay? This was the guy that was nice to me. But here's the problem. And because this went for hours, right? So let's go back. Look here. Here's the guy that stopped me, right? Here's the asshole that stopped me. You can tell, and this is what I'm getting at. We'll get to some tips in a minute. From the moment this guy walked up, I could tell he was an a-hole. I can feel it, you guys. And that's why a lot of times, if you've seen my videos over the years, you see that with some people I'm calm, and with some people I'm immediately in there, not being physically aggressive or being rude, but I'm in there and I'm on their ass. Because I can feel their personality, just like I tell you guys, when I interact with people, I just feel the mood. I feel the mood in the room, whether it's a client, whether it's a cop. Sometimes when my mind's in a certain mindset, and I'm not trying to get all like new agey on you, but I swear sometimes I can walk by someone on the street and I can sense what they're feeling. I'm not saying I'm a mind reader, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying you can feel people. If you care about people, you start to feel more. And so I react to cops based on not just what they're saying to me. A cop can come up and be polite, but I immediately know the body language and the spirit that's coming off them. Does that make any sense to you guys, or do I just sound crazy saying that? Okay? Because it's oftentimes very tangible. This guy is a thug who thinks he's important, who screws people over all day long. I could immediately sense that in reality, he's full of doubt. He knows he's not important. He knows he's just a thief that screws over poor people. But he's decided he doesn't care because law and because he's important and he's an authority. Now, did I feel that off him, or is it just because of the way he talks? That's another topic. All I'm saying is I could read this guy. And it's not just cops. But when someone has aggression on them, when someone has extremes, I think if you're self-aware of people's body language, their manner, their mind, and kind of what's radiating from them, you can tell. So if somebody's exuding peace versus exuding violence versus exuding anger. And so I'm trying to, knowing that, I'm trying to make myself, when I deal with people more, remind myself, hey, even if I'm arguing, I should exude peace. I'm trying to be like Jesus. I want to project peace. And I will consciously think that at times to remind myself from here and be like, no, we're promoting peace here, right? But let's get back to the point. This guy is immediately a thug. Let's go back to this guy who shows up later when they call in the reinforcements, when he realized that I wasn't going to lick his boots. But for the record, I wasn't arrested for not identifying you guys. I was arrested what they claimed I was arrested for was having forged documents, which I didn't have. Which is why a few hours later, when the prosecutor realized the crap that they all just did, they practically pushed me out of the jail. The prosecutors all ran downstairs to the point where the jailer was making fun of them in front of me. He's like, blame them, ha ha ha. They're afraid that you're gonna report them to the embassy. They screwed it up. And this is what the cops don't have, this kind of mesh-knit unity. It's kind of all a game for them. They're out extorting people. They're screwing each other over. They're screwing the public over. You don't have the blue line here in the same way. You don't have this unified police worship where they always back each other. But at the end of the day, they're not going to defend you. Let's go back to right here. Here's good cop, right here, this guy. This guy was with me for hours because I told them the other guy was so aggressive, he kept coming to look for me. Once they had me back in the car, right? Once I didn't have the camera in my hand anymore, They took me back to the patrol car. This guy, so here's me going to the patrol car, right? You can see me back here. You can see him there. He was right there, and I don't have a recording of it because I didn't have my phone. And they probably have already deleted their body cameras because body cameras are a very unofficial thing here. They're more like a thing because they want to be cool than actually for any sort of public record system. This guy here that stopped me, he came back, and it's considered very important to be polite here. Notice how when they're on camera, they're not being verbally loud. They will still arrest you if you tell a cop he's an asshole on the street because you're not allowed. That's not the culture of how they talk to people. Now, you should be able to say that, right? I'm not saying you shouldn't. But the culture in general is very different. Even when you're angry at something, you be polite. So if you watch Mexican activists, and it's in Spanish, and there's some really great ones, especially up in Michoacan, Mexico City, and they've started copying the style of how I did videos, how auditors do videos, but with this Mexican politeness. They're good day, how are you? It's a beautiful day, because that's the culture here, okay? But as soon as they're off camera, they're a different face. This is why you always keep the camera rolling. This is also probably why he didn't ask for a bribe and why he was pissed, because he knew the camera was rolling. Because if I catch him on camera asking for a bribe, then he will lose his job. Because cops very much do get fired and they very much do get arrested down here. Everybody knows they're corrupt, but it's a very different culture. They don't have qualified immunity here. If a cop shoots someone, right? Let's say I got out of the car with my camera and he shot me. He would be in jail for murder within a day, generally speaking. When something that blatant happens with a cop, like, people do not go for that level of aggression. They let the cops screw them over, but the cops don't get to be that violent. So to be clear, I was never grosero, as they say. I wasn't using vulgarities. You guys know how I'm on videos. That's not my style. I talk firmly. I talk about the law. I talk about human rights. As soon as this scumbag here had me back in the car, he comes up and he's like, getting in my face. This is what happens when you don't respect the law, asshole. Chinga tu madre is what he was saying, which is like, F your mother, right? And so these are the things that they will arrest you for. And you heard me in the video at one point, kind of in the background, as they were searching the car, saying, hold on a minute, in Spanish. You guys can be vulgar with me, but I'm not allowed to be that way. And what I was doing was calling him out. All through the process, all afternoon, he was coming to find me and get in my face, sneering at me, like, because I would stare him down, right? He would come and find me and I'd just be like this. And he'd be like, eso es que pasa cuando no respetas la ley. ¿Ves? ¿Ves? Solo necesitan respetar. So he was butthurt because I didn't kiss his ugly, hairy ass. Okay, to be fair, young Mexicanos don't have a ton of body hair. So I can't confirm that. Not something I want to confirm. But it was probably at least sweaty and dirty. Okay? So, we're back here. Enter good cop up here that I've mentioned a couple times. This guy comes in. And of course, I didn't register all the faces in the moment this was going down. Because when everything comes together, it tends to come together fast and be pretty stressful. And it's all you can do to keep that camera rolling and on them. Now, on the upside, you might think like, oh, why didn't they take your phone? Like, they do that in the States. They'll try and delete footage from our phones, things like that. There was too many eyeballs. I was right in the middle of town. Will cops do that here? Of course, they're the same everywhere. But actually, it is very normal to record public encounters here. Even the homeless people have a smartphone here. It's an old cheap one, but they can still record with it because most people don't have a computer. So a smartphone, even if they paid $50 for it, you can buy data per day, right? Oh, I got $2. Give me a little bit of data. It's almost like buying a cigarette. And get online, message with your friends, things like that. You can get like 1 day worth of cell phone service at basically any mini mart. No name, no account, no nothing. You just say, here's my number, and you give them some money. So a burner phone is like what all the phones are pretty much. They're almost never even connected to your name. So almost everyone has a phone. It's normal to record. Good cop here, after I was in the car, they put me in cuffs that were intentionally too tight, threw me in the back, dropped the seat down because there's no barrier in these cars. They're a little pickup truck, as you guys see in the videos. It's like a Ford F-150, and you're just sitting in the back of the truck. So what they do, and I don't know how this would really help if I was a violent person, what they do is they throw you in the back of the truck, your hands are here, and then they recline the seat all the way as like that's their barrier to keep you from escaping. So technically, and then when I was calm and this guy comes in, and I was just like, I didn't break any law. And we had a dialogue, and I actually ended up talking to him quite a bit because I said, I don't want goon number one near me. I don't want to talk to him. He's not taking me to the police, to the prosecutor's office. He's been trying to intimidate me. He's a bully, and he keeps coming around trying to provoke stuff. I do not want any of this custody. So this guy actually said, okay, I'll take custody of you the whole time. Which, it's like, okay, that's cool. But we're back to this, what's a good cop? The good cop is the guy that wasn't a complete a-hole. But watch here. And this is, I didn't see this till I came back to the video. Here's good cop right here. But watch where good cop is when they illegally enter my vehicle and go to open the door. Let's fast forward, fast forward, fast forward. Here we come. Where he is, there's kind of the supervisor guy. He reaches in. My car door didn't lock. Is good cop in here? Is good cop here helping me? He might have been one of the guys opening the door, but good cop certainly, there's good cop right there. He's helping him illegally remove me from my car. And actually, this is what I told good cop, because he was around for a while. I was like, I need water. My mouth was so dry. It's been hot down here, and I spent so much time arguing, and my mouth was just cotton. And I'm like, dudes, I need some water. Good cop went and found me some water once we got back there. Took a while, but he did it. And he stayed by me until I was registered in the jail. And then an hour after that, they let me out because they wanted me gone. Here's the thing. Acorn their ass. Here's the thing. Good cop isn't a good cop. And I told him this because he was sitting by me and he's like, no, I mean, we have to have law and order. I said, it's not law and order. Don't you see the hypocrisy that your officer, what escalated all this is your officer refused to identify according to federal law, as I showed you in the video. There is a federal law in Mexico that the officials have to identify. They have to have a credential with their name, their ID, their photo ID. They have to identify because it's so easy to fake it down here, right? It goes back to the same unmarked car issue. But here, there actually is a national law that they have to identify, and they almost universally break that law, and I'm sick of it. If somebody's harassing me, they better darn well be identifying themselves so I have some accountability. And so there can be a chain of who did what. Because they took my car, they didn't file the paperwork, there was no receipt. That's what you're seeing at the end here. And this actually, I think they may be worried about this. Someone could lose their job over this right here. I spent 2 days trying to find my car. You know who actually helped me find it? My insurance agent. He's like, well, let's call the impound yards. He saw me coming out. I went to the county office who arrested me, right? So first they let me go from the prosecutor's office. They said, get out of here. I said, where's my car? Well, you got to go over to the other side of town. It's probably in the municipal office. This is just the prosecutor's office. So you got to go over there, see if there's any fines, pay the fines, and they'll give you a release notice. Then you got to go to the impound lot. So I go over there, oh, we don't know. Come back tomorrow. It takes a while for the paperwork to register. I'm like, this is BS. I want my car. But okay, I come back tomorrow. The lady in that office was actually pretty nice, but she's still working for criminals. This is the problem. These aren't good cops, right? So here we go. I'm in the office. This is day 2 in the office. Let me turn audio back on and just listen to this interaction or watch the subtitles, as it were.
Mire, ya lo comenté, ya lo platiqué con el comandante, con el encargado del área, y me dice que ahorita se va a dar a la tarea de buscar el vehículo, de corroborar qué oficiales lo remitieron y por qué motivo no ha traído aquí la papelería.
No, identificación.
Now, that point right there, and that's why there's when I'm doing activism, right? There's covertly aiming a camera, right? You want to grab something, but you don't want to draw attention. There's what auditors do, which is like in their face or just aiming it right out there. No shame. Don't talk to me. Leave me alone. And there's somewhere in between those two. But there's another one, and that's turning the phone on, be it camera or sometimes just audio. And so if I'm in public offices, what I'll do is I'll just turn the audio recorder on and I'll have it there with my folder. So I'm getting everything. as soon as you point a camera at somebody, they're going to get hostile, right? If they're that kind of a person. And in government offices, they usually are. So if you actually want real information, you don't actually want the camera on them. And there's a chance they might even try to be helpful with you, right? Good for them. But everything documented. Because now I have a record. They admitted that the paperwork hadn't been found. And she's saying, I'm asking the commander because we can't find it. This is the second time I had been there that day, guys. Second time I'd been there, okay? Because I went there in the morning. She said, well, we don't know. Maybe it's with the state police. Go to the state police office in Central and ask them. And I said, there was no state police. And she's like, yeah, it's kind of confusing, but go check there. So they were trying to blow me off. So you know what? I'm like, screw this. I went to the state police office and I did the same thing. I went to the state security office and I said, hey, here's my car. The county people are telling me to look for it here. And they're like, why? Wasn't it county police? Well, they said it's possible that since you guys traveled that highway that you actually took the car when push came to shove. And so they looked for a few minutes and they said, we don't have this car. This has nothing to do with us. Right? So what bureaucracy does here is they try and keep you running around for as long as they can so they don't have to deal with the problem. So then I went back at this point. As I came out of that office, Jacob, my insurance agent, is driving by and he's like, whoa, what's up? And I'm like, I'm trying to find the car because I had told him that they had arrested me and impounded the car. And he's like, well, that's like fraud. And this is the difference. Imagine going in the States, right? This is an important thing. This is why Mexico actually does have more flexibility and more freedom, despite the fact that I've told you guys for years, there's lots of corruption here, but it's way less organized, right? People that live in the USA are like, oh, thank God I'm a gringo, but there's so much more slaves. You can't resist anything in the US because if they don't shoot you, they'll put you in jail. There's so much more personal freedom here. And people have, even though people still have the slave mindset, it's not as deeply rooted as people who are like, oh, I'm so glad I'm an American. And those kind of people don't even realize that Mexico is also America. A lot of people don't because we've been propagandized so much. I see you guys just chat. I'm going to come to your questions in a minute. I'm just kind of giving you the overview in this long form video. If you want to share this, by the way, don't share the long live stream, most likely. Share the video I posted the other day that's like 10 minutes long, okay? So, I'm in here, and he's like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, they don't know where the car is. There's no paperwork. I got no receipt. They're sending me around. He's like, you need to report them for theft and fraud, right? So he was getting pissed, and he started calling around. He started calling the impound yards, and he found the car. But we couldn't go get the car because you got to have the paperwork from the county to get the car from this private official impound yard who's going to screw you over, okay? So I go back to this lady. This is when I got that recording. And I was like, no, it wasn't. This was earlier in the day. Then I go back and I say, look, the state doesn't have the car. You don't have a receipt. They stole my car. This is fraud, and I want my car back, or I'm reporting it as such, as theft and fraud. And she's like, okay, just give me till tomorrow. We're open tomorrow till 1. Just give me till tomorrow. Come back. So I walk out the door like, oh, brother. And then within like 2 minutes, she's chasing me out the door like, hey, we found it, which probably means they made it. I go in, and she's like, okay, the fine is for this forged documents thing. I wasn't charged with anything. It was like a traffic fine. You have to pay $75. And I'm like, it's 150, but if you pay now, it's 50% off. I'm not kidding. This is how fines work. If you pay your fine quickly, you get a discount. There will literally be, people are so, ignore the government so much here, as much as they can, that there are literally billboards that say, pay your property taxes, and if you do it by this date, you get 20% off and free home insurance. Now, I doubt that insurance is much, but that's how it works here. So it was like a $160 fine, but then it was like 50% off. So I just want my car at this point, right? The rest can wait if we're going to sue them. If you guys want to like help support that, if we're going to go forward, if I fire a lawyer, if I do it myself, go file reports. I don't know how far I can get with it, but I'm tired of them getting away with this. So I got my 50% discount on my fine. just realized. I just was like, I'm just stopping to think about that, you know? Hang on, let me make sure business is in order here. See if I can get it going. See if I can get it going. Still got video feed. There we are. It is live. Good tarde, everyone. Welcome to the Gavin Seim Show. So you want to get arrested in Mexico? You want to know the secrets? The backroom deals? You want to know what you have to do to get arrested in Mexico? How long the stay is? What? Am I back? Let me know if I'm back before I continue. Because all right, now we're good. Okay, so I've had a sore throat a few days, so let's not drag this out too long. But here's the deal. I go through the rigmarole, get my discounted fine paid. Then I go to the impound yard. And after all this rigmarole and them running me all over town, I get to the impound yard like 10 minutes before they close. And they're leaving. I'm like, no, I want my car. They charge you extra per day, these scumbags, right? I'm like, no, I'm here in time. I want my car. Oh, we're not going to give it to you. You're going to have to come back tomorrow. Even though we were still within the hours, right? Not much I could do. They just left. So tomorrow I come back the next day with Sandra. And we go there. And they extort me for about nearly $300. Now, understand that the going rate for a tow truck would be more, for that tow would be like maybe $100, right? So it's an absolute extortion. And what they do, as I explained in the video, this isn't above board. This is how the cops make money. This is why they look for a reason to tow your car. Is that the tow company that's working with them gives them a kickback for getting that car in there, because they know you're going to want your car and they can screw you over, or if you never come to claim the car, eventually they'll part it out or sell it. So, no, like 5,400 pesos. And they tried to charge me for that extra day, and I'm like, no, I was here last night. Oh, fine, we won't charge you for that day, but it was still like 5,400 pesos, which is like $300 US. So, got the car, and now here we are. But here's the thing. These scumbags, they just keep taking. So number one, what should you do? Always film. If you're visiting here, do not speak Spanish, even if you know a little Spanish. Here's the problem. Yo hablo mucho español. Todo el día ando hablando español. Entonces, cuando llega un policía, es como, oye, ¿qué estás haciendo? Voy hablando en inglés, pero luego ya salen mis palabras en español porque estoy acostumbrada. So what's happening is there's two things. First of all, if I just talk in English, people will get mad at me when I post the video because they'll say I'm a rude American who refuses to talk, right? If I just talk in Spanish, then they'll try and screw me over more. A lot of times I'll try and approach it in English, but Spanish words start coming out because I'm so used to it. I'm hearing Spanish all the time, responding in Spanish. So eventually, like, they start realizing that I know some Spanish. But I definitely recommend, if you want less of a fight, play the tourist card. Film it, play the tourist card. That's what you should do if you're in Mexico. If you're not trying to, if you don't live here all the time, if you don't naturally speak Spanish. Now, that said, I was actually speaking Spanglish in the video. I'm not going to, I speak better Spanish than that, but it's good to avoid speaking a language that you're not 100% in when dealing with a legal issue. And I've said this before. Like, and I said this at every step, right? Look at this document, look at this. And I said, look, I speak Spanish, but my Spanish isn't perfect, and this is legal stuff. I'm not taking responsibility for this if I don't understand it. And they do have the obligation, by the way, to give you a translator. But that doesn't mean they're not going to screw you around for longer. So here we are. I'm still figuring out what I'm going to do next because I've got a lot going on. And what I at least want to do is file, you can file charges against them pretty easy. There's a state office that you actually go to file denuncias, they call them, against public officials. Now, will anything happen? Maybe not. But I do have it on camera, and they violated a lot of laws and policy here. So I'm going to look into my options. Maybe get a lawyer to do it, maybe do it myself, see what I can do. Because there needs to be some accountability. And one of the big conversations that I want to be about is the fact that these cops are not only extorting people, they refuse to identify, constantly refuse to identify. And it's not okay. So anyways, thank you to my channel backers, Patreons, Super Chatters. If any of you want it outside of that, just support directly and pitch in and support me a little bit. I'll put my PayPal link in the description, my quick PayPal link. And you can also back the channel, etc. if you want. That's the bottom line. If anybody has any questions, throw them in there right now and let me know. Hang on a second, I'm gonna get a little more water. And if you have any questions, throw them in that chat. Are you worried about cartel cops revenge harming you for suing? I'm always worried about cops revenge harming people. It doesn't matter what country you're in. Cops are revenge harming people all the time in the States. But there is a system here. It's a pretty bad one, but there's a pretty regular system for doing denuncias. And this is what some of the people that don't want to fight here, they'll be like, no, like they'll hurt you. You don't know how Mexico is. I've lived here for years. I've seen what's going on here. I'm not a dumb tourist. I don't try to be an activist here. I'm the foreigner. They see me as the foreigner. I can't connect with people in the same way. And so I'm not trying to be an activist. But I'm also trying to be an example for my kids, for the people around me, and just not get screwed over. Because even though maybe I can't be an activist, it still doesn't mean I have to take it up the rear end. And I have to set this example that we all have to be slaves. People need to stand up for themselves. But more importantly, as I always say, people need to stand up for other people. And that's really the message. They don't ID. Think about this. And this is what I said in the video the other day. Just think about what they're doing, okay? This costs me 8,000 pesos. That's not counting the time I lost. That's like a month's wages for a lot of people. There's actually a law in the Constitution that a fine for a laborer cannot be more than a day's wage. They're ignoring it, and that has to stop, right? These are human rights we're talking about. And what pisses me off is when I think about the poor family, the dad who's working his ass off, trying to feed his family, pay the rent, buy something nice for his wife, help his sick mom. And these scumbag cockroaches are stealing his car and screwing him over for a freaking month's wages. It's not okay, guys. This isn't okay anywhere in the world. And it's time to say no. So yeah, And even when I went to the tow yard, I told the guy, I'm like, you're a thief. And he's like, you have to respect me. And I was just like, whatever, dude. I had the release order. If I gave him the money, he had to give me my car. But just a thief. And of course, I had all of that too. He was breaking numerous laws too. But we could have a laundry list of all of these laws. The world is sick. This is who police are. Police are not protecting our communities. Now, I'm not saying you have a right to call police if somebody's breaking into your house. It's not in the police's best interest to have other criminals running rampant, right? Unless they're on their payroll, like a lot of the Mexican cops are. But really, people say, Mexico's run by narcos. That's probably true. In the United States, the narcos are the government, and they're the most powerful narcos, and they don't like competition. Here, that's true, but it's more subdivided into districts. But let's be honest, the most crime, theft, and abuse happening in any community in Mexico or the United States is from your police. Blue ISIS are the terrorists around the globe. They are the muscle that robs the children blind and steals the bread out of your kids' hands. And so we have to start treating them as that. I don't mean in a violent way. You have to change the perspective. Even since I left, when I came out against the police, the patriot community, I was a traitor to them. I didn't back the blue. There's a lot of good cops. We have to support our sheriffs. You guys that were there then remember the flack. Look how many views my videos get now, right? Because I didn't kiss the boots of the patriot, Republican. I didn't care about their parties. I didn't care about left or right. I cared about our rights, about justice, about caring about people. So when I turned against the cops, I got flack. When I turned against their nonsense about build walls and immigrants don't have rights and said, you're full of crap, all immigration restrictions are illegal, here's the law, here's the Constitution, here's the discussions of the Founding Fathers, you're a fascist if you support a wall or restricting people's travel for papers. Oh man, I lost the patriot community. Because it was all about, we're great, we're better, we have rights, but those people over there don't, they're invading us. It's the peak of ignorance to think that you're better than someone else, that you have more rights than someone else. And I get this here too. I am so sick. I'm so sick of this is a foreigner, he doesn't have anything. Bull crap. Doesn't matter where you're from, your rights are the same and you have a right to stand up for them. And that's why it's time to say no more. James Freeman, good to see you in there. One of my channel backers. One of my few channel backers is James. I'm proud to have James as a channel backer. Gavin needs to learn to respect authority. They keep us safe, right? That's right, James. There's a principle that I talk about. If you go to my law section where I'm talking about people like John Locke and the foundations of law and life, liberty, and property and what is law? What is really law? Law isn't a statute that some asshole wrote. Law is founded on life, liberty, and property, and your defense of it and protecting it. And anyone who's not doing that is a criminal. So that's why I said to the cop, he said, I'm an authority. I said, you're not an authority, because the moment he refused to identify that he was even a legitimate official of the county, he lost all legitimate authority. The moment he violated not only my rights, but the own rules that are meant to keep him in check, he had no legal authority from a law standpoint. That's why I said. So a lot of times my response is, I'm not just trying to get under the skin. I'm like, you're not an authority, because he had no authority. He was trying to violate my rights. He refused to identify. He refused to respect the law. He refused to show me his ID as the federal law required. And the difference is I actually knew the law. And he's an idiot, and he didn't. But worse is not that he's an idiot or that he's ignorant. It's that he didn't care. And this is what I told Good Cop, who sat with me, and he was like sitting there with his camera pointed at me, talking to me, and I'm like, dude, I know you're recording. He's like, yeah, I've been recording all this time. I'm like, that's fine. I'm not saying anything bad, because I was basically, he was nice to me, so I was polite, but I was basically lecturing their entire system the entire time. And I was saying, look, this is why no one in this town respects you guys. Maybe there's a nice cop like you, but the fact is, you did nothing to defend my rights. That's what I told him. So I appreciate that you've been polite, that you've hung out, that you got me water, but at the end of the day, did you defend my rights? I said, and he's just kind of like, brr. And you know how good cop, bad cop is, right? Wouldn't surprise me if on another day, this guy's bad cop screwing people over. I don't know. This guy had been on the force, I think he said, for like 17 years. So maybe he was just older and calmer, and those are the types that tend to be good cop, right? If you throat the boot, you don't taste the polish. So yes, it's crazy. But that's the story. That's the reality of it. What else? Oh, another thing. Here's something I didn't know about Mexican jail, if you're ever in a Mexican jail. So booking was weird. First, they brought me to the prosecutor's office. They brought a prosecutor out, and they're like, oh, he did this and this. And he's like, why would you do that? They want to lecture you. They want to feel right. So they're very petulant. Like, I know cops are, but usually prosecutors are like very official. But they come out, you go into the prosecutor's office. The girl prosecutors are all wearing tight Latina miniskirts, right? They're trying to impress their bosses. I'm not kidding here. The guys are wearing like polos and button-ups and kind of running around like they're cool lawyer guys. And I'm just like, it's very 1960s-ish, okay? Prosecutor comes out and he's like, he did this and this and this. He's like, you can't do that, that's a crime. I said, that's not a crime. He said, yes, it is. And I'm like, okay, let's see. Within a couple hours, I was out because they decided it wasn't a crime. But I wasn't trying to argue at this point. Admittedly, I did feel a little less confidence than I would getting arrested in the States, even though the pressure, the atmosphere of the process in the jail was less intense in the States. The jail was much more relaxed. You weren't going through security. You weren't locked in solitary confinement. The cell they put you in there's another guy in there that they probably brought in for being drunk or something. And I'm like, oh, they're going to put me in with machete. But I was chatting with him. We were talking about how the police were assholes. But the cells, bear in mind, this isn't a prison. This is just like county jail, right? There is a prison in the state as well. I've never been in there. Although on Sundays, all the families are there bringing food to their families and having picnics. They're obviously not letting them out. Prisons still suck. They're still human abuse. But my impression of the prisons is on the weekends, you can actually come and like bring a hamburger to your family member that's in prison and hang out with them. So in a lot of ways, most of the time in the States, you can't even see people face to face anymore. It's just this stupid camera crap. It's human trafficking. It's human abuse. And I don't care whether they committed a real crime or not. It's not okay. The prison system is not okay. And if you support it for the people you hate, you have a problem. You need to stop. You need to check yourself. It's not okay to lock people in concrete cages and not let them have human contact. It's simply not okay. We're going through the process. They bring me in a public defender. She was reasonably helpful. Public defenders, and I was just responding to emails today of people dealing with stuff in the States. They get the paycheck from the same person, right? But she was like, I was explaining, hey, that law they're using, that's not for plates. At the most, this is an infraction. And she was like, yeah, you're right. I think I know the law you're talking about. And so, no, I think being confident and knowing my rights and just not simpering in front of them actually did make them like think. And then they're like, okay, well, for protocol, we're going to need to call the embassy and just let them know that we arrested somebody from their country. And I said, well, I guess you could do that. I don't really want you to. The embassy's not going to help me. By the way, I'm an official refugee. And they're like, what? Because as soon as I'm a refugee, they actually have a ton of legal obligations as well. Because I don't just say I'm a refugee, I'm actually a documented refugee from the United States. You can find that video on the homepage of the channel when we're done here. And you're cleaning off the polish. You guys are funny. You guys are funny. So I told them that as well. So I with confidence, I didn't run around like screaming like, I'm a refugee. I just like was talking to them like, no, the law is this. What about this law? What about Article 42 of the National Security Law? I kept saying Article 43 in the video, but it's Article 42. I was off by one number, but they knew what I was talking about. I'm like, okay, but there's also Article 16 and 11 of the Constitution. They violated that as well. And so when you got a gringo in there, I wish I had cameras from when I was in the prosecutor's office, because like they were like, oh, we're going to get this guy. I'm sure he's really afraid. Don't get me wrong. When you're in the hands of criminals, you should be afraid. These are dangerous people. It's not a joke. Whether you're in the US or England, they will screw you over like they're doing to Julian Assange. They will screw you over. like they did to Jeff Winehouse. They will screw you over like they did to Leonard Peltier. So it's not a joke. I don't usually go in just trying to mock and make fun of it. I will usually be very professional and serious once I'm in their hands in particular. And I'll even cooperate on some things. And I'll play good cop a little bit. I'll play good citizen a little bit. But at the same time, I'm good citizen that's intelligent, that knows his rights, that might even be a lawyer. Understand that in Mexico, a lot of people are lawyers. There's no bar exam in Mexico. You don't have to be there's no bar. You don't have to be a member of the bar to be a lawyer. Now, it's still a lot of rigmarole if you officially want to be a lawyer and represent people in court. But the rules for that are way more light and different. When we went through all this process, then I'm down in the jail. After about an hour, they're like, let's get him out of here. The windows, it was just barred windows to the open air, right? The entrance to the jail, there was no security. It was just like a garage door, and you walked in, and then there was a big hallway of cells. There was a drinking fountain in there. Didn't use it. There was a toilet behind a little partition, and there was another dude in there, and we were shooting the breeze a little bit, talking about these a-holes. But when they were booking me, they took me in. They're like, okay, we want you to have... we need to do a medical revision so we can record that you weren't beat or harmed in any way. And by the time they actually took me to do that, I think the prosecutor was kind of realizing this was BS. And he was like, it'd really help me if you let us do the medical revision, because they want something signed that you weren't beat up, right? So that if something happens, they have a transactional record. They're, of course, trying to cover their own asses. So the officer, good cop, took me into an office with a woman doctor, made me take my shirt off. They didn't force me. He's like, can you do this for us? And I'm like, oh, brother. Took my shirt off, told me to drop my pants down to my ankles so they could see that I wasn't beat up. I didn't take my interior clothing off, by the way. There was no body cavity searches. And I'm like, wow, this is a little creepy that you got a woman doing this, don't you think? But it's Mexico, right? Took me into another area. And he's always asking me the same questions. It's like, don't you people have a computer? Like, they enter the information, and then the same people are asking me the same questions. And I was at the point of being like, screw you. I'm not answering this question. I don't have to answer any questions. If you want the information, go ask the other 3 people that asked me for it. But I was trying to be cooperative, never been in a Mexican jail, didn't particularly want to get beat up by these guys, because when you were in the jail, they were mocking people that were coming in. You could tell these were not very nice people, didn't respect people. Took me in, waited in the waiting room before the doctor came, took me into another room with a guy that was kind of grumpy who clearly didn't want to do his work. And he's like, okay, we have to tell you that we're going to take your prints and enter you in the Mexican database. I guess that's a criminal database, but I wasn't committed of any crime, so I don't know how their database works. Mexico doesn't have access to the U.S. criminal database, generally speaking. Little? Talking about, bro. So here's the thing, though. They went in there, and I'm like, oh, they're going to print me. And he's like, okay, so here's the deal. You have to sign this to give us permission to print you and put you in the database. And I'm like, okay, so I have to do this. He's like, no, you have to decide. You have to give us permission. And I'm like, and I literally said this. I'm like, is this a trick? You're going to do something to me? I get punished if I don't cooperate? Because like in the States, they're going to take your prints by force, right? And he's like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, he's like, are you giving us permission to take your prints and enter you in the database? And I said, okay, I guess so. And then I'm like, wait, this is stupid. Why am I cooperating to this level? And he's like, oh, it's a simple question. And he was getting irritated with me. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't really understand what's going on here. This feels really weird to me. And he's like, you have to decide. You have to give us permission to take your prints. I'm like, does anything happen to me if I say no? He's like, no, you just have to decide. And I'm like, well, no then. He's like, okay, sign here and write this, that you refuse to have your prints taken and be entered in the database. And so I wrote it, and then we moved on to the next area to see this doctor, right? This is before they took me to the jail cell. And I was like, that was truly the weirdest experience of the whole thing, because they literally had a permission form that I had to sign. And when I said yes, I'm like, okay, I'm going to try and cooperate. I don't know what they're getting at. This must be a trap. And then I'm like, wait a minute, screw that. No, on second thought, no, you can't have anything. And I'm glad I did, because I don't want to be in any database, right? Who knows? They're not very organized here, but who knows what that database is for or how it's used. So yeah, I didn't even get printed before they booked me. And yeah, then they let me go, and I went through the whole rigmarole to get the car, and here we are. Is it streaming okay? I'm looking at my bit rates here. I think we're okay. Just checking, because sometimes I get going. Anyways, that's basically the story. I don't know where we go from here. If you guys want to help out, my PayPal is in the PayPal donate is in the description. I appreciate the super chatters, the backers. I'm not going to keep going. I've been going for over an hour, right? And you guys know the rule. If the super chats aren't a-rolling, I'm a-rolling. And the truth is, it's late. I got to go anyway. Thank you all for being here. I think we had a great live stream, lots of fun conversation. Remember our prisoners, right? Name their names. Talk about it. Talk about how bad the police are. Don't be ashamed to shame these people. Do it with peace. Do it with honor. Remember that defending other people has far more power than defending yourselves. Most people contact me. Okay, good. Thanks, Steph. Most people contact me when they're already in a bad situation. You get stronger by speaking up for other people, and it makes your message stronger than just speaking up for yourself. Obviously, this is an incident that I was in. You guys know from my videos, I usually avoid incidents where I'm the victim. I'd much prefer to be filming and debating and fighting when they're trying to abuse someone else and I'm defending someone else, right? Because it makes your position stronger. That's why I usually actually try and keep things like papers and documents and stuff in order, because we can certainly argue a ton of people don't have driver's license. The truth is, I showed them an ID at one point that was a photo of it on my phone. It wasn't my driver's license, but I was never charged with not showing ID. They never asked for insurance. I have insurance. But no, they didn't really push any of that. Most people don't have insurance, so if you don't want to get your car wrecked, get your own. Technically, that's a law too, right? That you have to have insurance, you have to have your license, but a lot of people just don't. But if I get in an accident, I want it to be covered, right? Especially if it's my property or if someone else gets hurt, I want to make sure I don't have a ton of money, right? If I had a ton of money, I wouldn't be like, collecting PayPal donations to go after these guys. So yeah, it's crazy. I appreciate you guys. Be strong, love your neighbor, resist blue ISIS. I'm going to go for now, but we'll see you guys soon. And I'll try and do another live stream soon. I know the past month has been kind of crazy for me. I've been a little stressed trying to just keep ahead of everything. But we're plugging away. I appreciate your support. Be peace, guys. Be peace. Do I have insurance to walk around? No, I don't have insurance to walk around. And the insurance, I'm actually in the process of suing my last car insurance company because I got in a minor fender bender and they scammed me. And they wouldn't cover it, even though I had full coverage. So actually, I have a lawyer that's suing the insurance company. They're scammers now. They love these big companies. Let's be honest. Like, you guys remember the early 2000s when some technicality would happen? I literally remember every month. Remember when every month you had to go over your phone bill with a fine-tooth comb because they were literally just scamming you? I remember getting cell phone bills from Verizon for like $2,000 because they just like bogus things. That doesn't happen as much anymore. I think there's more accountability because of communication, internet, and rules against the corporations because they're abusing so much. But here, the corporations kind of bribe their way to the top, and they'll screw you over too. So like Zurich Insurance, it's actually a German company, but they're complete scammers. So we're suing them. That's another video. I've talked about that, I think, a little bit before. But just remember what they've done to these people, Yeah, Fitz was arrested in Mexico once. Red Light Robin Hood, he's been down here a few times. He's been arrested down by Cancun. Like, they're scumbags. The max they can hold you is like 36 to 48 hours unless it's like something significant that you did or that you're accused of. But who wants to deal with that? It's not okay. We have to resist. We have to say no. We have to stand up for each other. All right, you guys. Peace. We'll see you soon.